So for the second Steam Showdown, I'm playing this very generic band deck, just a collection of all the best band cards. So we have powerful card drawing with Recruiter and Tracker. We have big converge creatures. We have Woodland Wanderer and the Skyrider Elf. We have Bellower that can fetch a Sylvan Advocate, which will be a 4/6 for 5 immediately, or it can fetch a Tracker. We have Gnarlid just to make the deck a bit faster. Sunblade Elf as a way to pump the team. It's good to have one of these in the late game, I think. And then interaction with opposing creatures, with Krasis to tap them. Of course we have Reflector Mage to bounce them, actual removal, Declaration in Stone, and powerful combat trick with Infuse with the Elements, which is a card that I really like. If the opponent blocks one of your creatures, you can kill his creature and make your creature bigger, and it's a permanent pump, so it has the potential of really winning the game on the spot, almost getting a huge board advantage, or it can be a blowout if the opponent has instant speed removal, but there's still not a lot of instant speed removal, like 2 copies of Anguished Upmaking, maybe Reprisal if the opponent plays. But my opponent is playing the really cool deck. It's a ramp deck featuring Geist Blast as a way to duplicate instants or sorceries, and most of the deck is just mana ramping used to cast massive X spells like Fall of the Titans and Rolling Thunder. So most of the time the plan is gonna be to just burn the opponent by casting a really big Rolling Thunder, for example, and duplicating it with Geist Blast. It also has one copy of Ulamog, but with no way of tutoring for it, so there's no From Beyond in this deck. Thing in the eyes is pretty interesting. Lots of instants and sorceries, so it's easy to flip. Lots of card drawing and card selection. But as far as defense from aggro decks go, we have these blockers, Jaddi Offshoot to gain life. We have the Radiant Flames. We don't have Kozilek's Return, for example. Renewal to gain life, and 2 Planeswalkers. So deck seems really powerful, but also it could be inconsistent and it could be weak. So I'm on the play in the first game. I see a pretty decent starting hand that does not have a lot of plays between turn 1 and turn 4, but this deck has a lot of 2-drops, lots of early creatures, so I'm expecting to. So I play Lumbering Falls. My plan is to play the Elf and hopefully start attacking for 2 damage every turn. Opponent goes with Evolving Wilds, gets an island, and here I can just play Plains, and my Elf will be 2/2 immediately. And then next turn I'm gonna be able to play my Oath of Nissa plus Recruiter, and he just passes the turn. Okay, so here I have a pretty interesting choice already. But I start with Oath of Nissa to have more information. And as much as I like those two creatures, I think I'm gonna get the land here, yes. So I can guarantee playing my 4-drop on turn 4, and it's Gideon, so yeah, pretty powerful 4-drop. And then I also have I think one of my only two cards that cost more than 4 mana in Avacyn, so I want to get my land to be able to make those plays later. So this is just a ramp spell, so no Radiant Flames. And playing around Radiant Flames is the most important part of this matchup. And the other ways of removing creatures is Rolling Thunder, right? So there's an interesting tension between deploying as much creatures as possible so that my opponent cannot cast a Rolling Thunder that's powerful enough to kill all of them, at the same time playing around Radiant Flames. So of course, if I have creatures that have more than 3 toughness, that's very easy to do, but if I have only 2/2s, as in this case, it's pretty difficult to decide how much I want to commit. If I play only 2 creatures, for example, and my opponent plays a Rolling Thunder that can kill exactly both of them, then I will regret not committing more stuff to. Okay, so here comes a blocker, and my opponent doesn't really have any dangerous instant that he can play with that mana. So here I'm just going to attack, and I think I will play Nissa after this attack, just to guarantee having my 5th land for Avacyn. So yeah, I'm attacking. And my opponent decides to block with Thing in the Eyes, which is interesting. Because it seems to me that casting multiple spells and bouncing everything could be a possible path to victory from this position. And here I'm debating whether I want to play another creature, but if my opponent plays Radiant Flames, he's gonna have only 2 mana left, and so I would have lethal in play just by attacking with Gideon plus Lumbering Force. So it seems pretty safe to add another creature. I don't really think my opponent has anything that he can do to stay alive here. Maybe he could play Nissa's Renewal to try to gain another turn, but I don't think that would be enough. So here I think I'm just going to attack for lethal, and that should be enough. Yeah, plusing Gideon again, attacking for 15. That's a pretty good attack, and indeed it is lethal. So second game, my opponent is on the play. My first hand has only 2 lands, and they come into play tapped, and I choose to mulligan for that reason. Second hand has good mana, but again I have only a Sunblade Elf. It's pretty similar to my previous hand actually. I don't have a 2-drop or a 3-drop, and I'm hoping to draw one of those cards. If I do draw a 2-drop and a 3-drop, this hand is basically perfect. So and it worked pretty well in the previous game, so keeping seems reasonable. Pretty difficult to decide what land to play first and what's my first play gonna be. I can start playing one of my tap lands. I decide to try to apply as much pressure as early as possible. So I play the elf with the idea of getting a plains next turn so that I can start attacking for 2 damage every turn. We'll see what happens. Yeah, so I draw Bounding Krasis, which means that it's no longer clear whether I want to get a plains or not. If I play Lumbering Force, I will be able to play the Krasis next turn. although my 4th land at that point, if I play my forest on turn 3, my 4th land will come into play tapped. So it's a pretty interesting decision here. I could get a plains and delay my Krasis, or I could play Lambert, and I decide to play the false, attack only for 1. And the advantage of doing this is that I can play the Krasis on turn 3, and then if I draw a land that comes to play untapped, I can play the Wanderer. I will not be able to play Gideon on turn 4 no matter what, but Wanderer on turn 4, Wanderer on turn 4 after a Krasis on turn 3 seems powerful enough, and luckily I draw my untapped land, so I can make that play. Unfortunately, no one of my lands is a plains yet, so still attacking for 1. Okay, so he's just ramping here. He doesn't have Fiery Impulse, so he cannot cast any. And I'm gonna flash in the Krasis. And I draw another Wanderer, which is good because it gives me a play for next turn, since I would not have been able to play Gideon anyways. So once again attacking with my 1/1, and I will play a 5/5 Wanderer, which is really good against this opponent. All of his removal is based on burn, so playing large creatures makes it really difficult to remove them with Rolling Thunder or Radiant Flames or cards. Okay, so he has Nissa's Renewal, which gains him a bunch of life, but I'm attacking for 9 every turn, and I will add another 5/5, so I think I'm definitely in a good position. It seems difficult that he will be able to play a burn spell big enough to kill all of my creatures. Yeah, I have 15 points of toughness in play. Yeah, get the other 5. And my opponent has Ulamog, which is very unfortunate. It's the one card that really can win him the game from this position, since he can just exile my 2/5, which is what he decides to do. So I can get rid of Ulamog permanently with one of my 2 copies of Declaration in Stone. For now, all I can do is yeah, so I play Gideon here with the intention of well, bouncing Ulamog next turn if I find no other way of dealing with him. Ideally, yeah, I can draw either a Declaration in Stone or a Krasis to gain more time without putting the Ulamog back. Thing in the air. Okay, drawing some cards and also removing a counter. He discarded Geist Blast, which has an ability when it's in the graveyard. So, and here, unfortunately, he has the Radiant Flames, so he kills all of my stuff, and he can also choose to attack Gideon. And they actually fixed the bug that was present in the game. Well, Ulamog would not mill the 20 cards when he was attacking a Planeswalker. Now, as you can see, I lost 20 cards from my library, so everything working as intended, although not the game is not really going as I intended it. So I have to bounce Ulamog here. There's no way I can hope to win the game after another Ulamog attack with only 4 cards in the library. So I'm gonna play my Reflector Mage and sadly bounce. And yeah, at this point I have very low chances of winning, but I'm just gonna play the game to the best of my possibilities. It's possible that my opponent does not have other good cards in his hand, and that he might not draw them, but unfortunately here's a Jace that he can start plussing immediately, so he's gonna be able to see a lot of cards. And another renewal, pushing my opponent further away from the and I draw Oath of Nissa, could be anything. Okay, so Ulamog is gonna come down again next turn. So what I'm trying to do here, I think, is finding a way to stall the Ulamog. So yeah, I'm gonna pick the Recruiter and activate it immediately, trying to find Bounding Krasis or another Reflector Mage, and try to gain some time that way. And maybe eventually I can find my Declaration in Stone and hope to build something from that. So he's plussing Jace, draws a card. Okay, Offshoot, even more life gain, and Ulamog comes down, exiling my 2 creatures. Yes. So I'm gonna activate in response. He could have chosen to exile my Lumbering Force. That would also have been a good choice, I think. So I can only find Gnarlid, unfortunately. So things are looking pretty. And in my turn, I find another Reflector Mage, which I have to play and bounce the Ulamog because I have 20 cards in my library. So yeah, Ulamog goes up again. And I play the Gnarlid to try and pressure the Planeswalker, since he's gonna be able to ultimate soon. And the Geist Blast is gonna attack me and flip the thing in the eyes. So I take 7, and at this point my opponent has seen a lot of cards, so okay, Offshoot comes down again, gaining a lot of life, and another explosive. Then he pluses the Jace, and I draw finally my Declaration in Stone. So I actually cannot bounce the monster. I have to get rid of the offshoot to attack Jace, because I don't think I can win against Jace ultimate, which would counter my first spell every turn. So I have to attack Jace for 3. And I'm at 11. And now I'm just dead to this burn spell. No need to recast Ulamog a 3rd time. Yep. Okay, final game. 1-1. And I see a hand with only 2 lands. Also, they are not exactly the lands that I wanted, because I have only green source for my elf and for my Oath of Nissa. So I end up keeping this very mediocre hand, which has no plays until turn 3. So just like in my previous games, I have to hope to drop some early action, and once again I have a lot of a lot of 2-drops in this deck. So I choose to play my dual first because it's a plains and an island, so it will make my other 2 lands come into play untapped if I need. So I don't have a play on turn 2, but I might draw a 2. And luckily I do draw a 2-drop, which is also a very good one because it can attack for free every turn, so things are looking much better after this. My opponent has a blocker, but I can bounce. Or I could also tap it and then play the Reflector Mage to bounce it. I don't know which. Probably the other play would have been better because Bounding Krasis can attack for 3 damage and Reflector Mage for 2 damage only. So it's possible that I should have played Krasis here. Anyways, 3 damage. And my opponent cannot replay the Thing in the Eyes. So again, I want to play around the Radiant Flames as much as possible. So I cannot play Nissa here because I'm missing the second green. I would play Nissa probably if I could, but I can play around Radiant Flames but by holding this Bounding Krasis in my hand to play it during my opponent's turn. If my opponent replays his Thing in the Eyes, my Krasis can tap it. So I'm gonna choose to do that instead of playing a 3/3 Skyrider Elf. And I can play around the Radiant Flames quite nicely here by playing Nissa and minusing immediately, making 2 of my creatures have 4 toughness, so out of range of Radiant Flames. Okay, there's nothing I can do about that Rolling Thunder, which if you cast it for just 4 mana is a very inefficient removal spell. And now I draw another land, so I can play all of the cards in my hand and minus Nissa. I'm definitely minusing Nissa here, so might as well also play the Elf. It's not gonna be any bigger than a 3/3 anyways, so I can cast it as a 2/2 and then put a. And now, as I said before, 2 of my creatures have 4 toughness, so they are out of range of Radiant Flames, and they also well, there's nothing in my deck that in my opponent's deck that can kill all of these creatures with only 4 lands in play for him. So I'm pretty confident that this is the last turn. And yeah, I also draw a Wanderer, which is another great draw. So I'm just attacking, hoping that nothing weird happens. And yeah, I get my first win in the second season of the